Oz, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks a lot for having me, Josh.
Oz, do you want to kind of give us a very quick 30-second rundown who you are, introduce yourself?
Yeah, so my name is Oz Alashe. I'm the CEO and founder of CybSafe. We are a human risk management platform. We help organizations deliver and influence the behavior change that happens within their organization as it relates to cybersecurity, or understand why not, understand why behavior change isn't happening.
Nice. Let's go right back. Talk about when you were growing up and just kind of, obviously we know each other for a long time, so I know your background, but what did you want to be when you were growing up?
Yeah, it's funny, when I wanted to go,
Did you go to university or anything?
I did, yeah. I actually studied economics at university, but prior to that, I thought I was going to be an electrical engineer. My pa was an electrical engineer. Didn't know anything about engineering, and I wasn't particularly close to my father.
What was he doing?
So he's an electrical engineer, separated. My mother and father separated when I was young. My mother raised us by themselves. But for some reason in my head, that was like a grown-up job, and I knew nothing about engineering, and I literally know nothing, as in I know about my father, but I'm not close to him in any way, shape or form. Yeah. But in my head, I grew up, thought, and anyone that would ask me as a kid, what do you want to do? I'd say engineering. For some bizarre
weird
reason.
How that sticks, isn't it?
It's very strange, and indeed, I didn't even go anywhere really near it. Is the truth. I love
still
science.
Don't
I love science.
Electrical engineering.
I still don't know what electrical engineers are. But yeah, I studied economics at university. I enjoyed maths. I enjoyed the sciences. I enjoyed tech. I then joined the army.
So graduated straight to Sandhurst, or did you?
Sandhurst. I went to Sandhurst. I commissioned into the Parachute Regiment. I ended up commissioning into the Parachute Regiment partly because a friend of mine, the brother of a girl who was at school with us, he was joining the Parachute Regiment, and I also walked past an episode of EastEnders. Grant Mitchell was being an idiot on stage, and he was turning a table over, and his brother grabbed him and said, why are you being such an idiot? He said, I can't help it. It's because I was in the Paras. I thought, that's it. I'm going to join the Paras.
That's your advert for. See, mine was 99.9% need not apply, and like commandos going through the rivers in the jungle. Yours was Phil Mitchell throwing a table.
Phil Mitchell, and I don't even know.
Does he know this? Have you told him?
Actually told.
No, you haven't bumped into
Ross
him.
Kemp. He's the reason that I joined the Parachute Regiment. Parachute Regiment didn't believe me when I told them that was why I was applying. At Sandhurst, you go through your interviews, and they thought I was joking, and it was just confidence. It wasn't at all. It was genuine, serious answer.
No way. So fast forward then, you went to university, Sandhurst, career in the Paras, and other stuff. What happened when you left? Did you go straight into cybersecurity? Like, tell us like kind of the pre-beat up towards CybSafe.
So I joined the Parachute Regiment, like I said. I then volunteered to go and serve with a bit of defence that basically spent most of our time focused on covert intelligence. None of this is sensitive, and it's all public, open source. So I joined a unit that basically spent a lot of time chasing unpleasant people around the world, trying to politely persuade them from being quite so unpleasant. And we had to find them first. Digital start points were really important. And there was a key point whilst I was serving where I basically came across a group that was trying to extort and raise money. Some of this money was going to terrorist activity. And they were using psychologists to basically influence behavior. At the same time, we were also building behavioral models in order to understand how we found some of these people. So really interesting just to get that kind of taste of, one, the kind of cybersecurity aspect, but two, the behavioral science aspect. When I left, I joined Torchlight Group. Torchlight Group, we spent a lot of time with governments and entities, basically helping them understand how they were losing information and why they were losing information, and of course building cyber resilience programs. Everybody was paying lip service to the human aspect, including ourselves. We would literally have data about everything, and when it came to the people side, we'd say, train your people. And I just thought, this doesn't make sense. Where's the data that suggests that if you train people, it will make any difference? Then somebody pointed out that there are doctors who smoke. And I thought, wait a minute, that suggests that maybe it's not about knowledge and understanding. And of course, there isn't. There's a lot more to it than that. Nice. So that's it. I fell into cybersecurity because I understood and was obsessed with this idea that says, if we're serious about reducing the risk as it relates to the human aspect of cybersecurity, where is the data that helps us understand what we're doing is working?
Okay, so you had that kind of like almost like a light bulb moment, or it's like, was it progressive? Like when you were at Torch, you're seeing it over and over again. You think
I was seeing it over and over again, and I was advising organizations. So we were building cyber resilience and intelligence development programs for
foreign nations,
primarily for partner governments overseas or corporations who were closely associated with partner governments overseas, primarily. So fantastic opportunity, amazing work. Spending a lot of time briefing boards about the challenges that they were having and piecing together teams, cyber resilience teams of all hues, and the big glaring gap was the human aspect.
Interesting. Okay, so then again, the light bulb moment then was, okay, a couple of us are going to go and start a company. Don't know what it's going to be called. We're just going to go figure it out, have a few beers. I like, tell us like
It depends who you talk to. I think depending on who you talk to, the story makes each person sound much better. But in reality, I actually, it was my idea, which was nothing special. I got lots of stupid ideas most of the time, but. Two very good people that I know with and know very well, Sean Lumley and Ed Dixon. We were talking. They had founded, or Ed Dixon had founded Torchlight, and we were talking about solving this problem. And I said I was going to go off and do that, and that made sense. And Sean came for a short period of time to do that, and then stepped back after not very long. Ed Dixon never did. I just cracked on with it.
Nice. Yeah, I remember the early days because you were next to Toro in the Canary Wharf. Right. I remember that so vividly.
eToro.
I lost a lot of money with those guys.
I think they're still doing well. Every time I see them,
they're doing great. Don't worry, they're doing great. Okay, cool. Let's bring it forward now to CybSafe, modern day. Like, can you give us like, I suppose in plain English, around like what do you guys do? Very simple terms. What's maybe not the elevator pitch, but how do you explain the business?
Yeah. So, like I said, we're a human risk management platform. We help organizations take the data they have within their systems, most of their security solutions, or indeed their productivity suite. We can help them see which of their people need help and support so that they can influence those specific behaviors to reduce the risk to the organization. Examples of the behaviors might be people who go to visit websites that they shouldn't be, people who use GenAI solutions that they wish they wouldn't, or put data that they wish they shouldn't do into the right GenAI system, people who don't report phishing emails. So they might know that they're not supposed to do it, open it, but they don't report it, and actually they're reporting the behavior. So it's a real specific focus on security behaviors. There's about 100 different security behaviors that an individual can exhibit that will increase or decrease risk to them or to the organization. They're not all as important as each other, depending on the context, depending on the risk, depending on what matters to you. And so we've basically cataloged every single security behavior. And then we have a behavioral ontology called SebDB, and made it really easy for you to say, if I care about malware infection, ransomware, these are the 14 behaviors I should focus on. Here's what Josh is doing right now, and here's the help he needs. Let's deliver that help at the right time.
Okay, makes total sense. How closely aligned then is that, or crossing paths with the insider threat? The just pure security awareness training platform. Do you know, like, it feels like it ties into, and I guess, do you sit in the browser?
There's a strong adjacency with most of those things. So so we don't sit in the browser. And indeed, for many of the organizations that we work with, so 85% of our customers will be Microsoft houses. They'll be on E3 or E5 licenses. They'll use a variety of tools like Purview or Intune or indeed Defender that basically they don't use they use that data to be able to deliver a variety of other services or deliver a variety of other capabilities, but they don't necessarily use it to help their people or indeed to influence the security behaviors, and we do that for them. How closely aligned is it, or associated with security awareness training, or as you described, the insider threat space? Security awareness training was grown out of compliance.
Yep.
Most organizations, especially if they are regulated or trying to follow a framework, they will deliver security awareness training for their people, often because they have to, but equally, many security leaders that we work with and have grown up in security, they also believe that it's the right thing to do. If we can train our people, they'll behave better. But like I said to you, there are doctors who smoke. If it was that simple, then nobody would have any issues when it comes to
tell them once
users.
and it'd be over with.
So that's just not how behavior works. But they're doing it for the right reasons. It's just not necessarily as effective. So there is an adjacency there. We basically take organizations beyond security awareness training. In terms of the insider threat challenge, actually the organizations that we see are the most mature, so many of the organizations we work with, they actually break down insider risk and they look at it and say, who are the malicious insiders? Who are the non-malicious insiders, the unwitting malicious? We're focused on the unwitting and the non-malicious.
Okay.
So we're not helping organizations influence the behaviors of people who are deliberately setting out to do bad or do the wrong thing.
Okay.
We're focused on the majority of the insider challenge that they have. Insiders are people who legitimately have access to their systems.
Yep.
But they're not meaning to do the wrong thing.
They're
not meaning to do bad things.
They're not ill-willed, right?
They're not ill-willed and they're not malicious.
What? So the question there is, because that's obviously a big part of just general insider threat, which is I didn't know I was doing wrong, or if I did, I didn't report it because I don't get in trouble, right? So the not reporting a phishing email, a link I clicked on. Why don't you look at the malicious insider, the guy or girl who's exfilling to Beijing, or like, is it too big a problem? Like, is it too wide?
It's not. Well, it's a massive problem.
Sorry, is it too wide? I mean,
too wide. It's too wide a problem for that very reason. So remember, one of the challenges in our space, especially in the human aspect, is a lot of people do things out of gut and what they believe is common sense. Very little data, very little evidence behind the backing.
Who would you mean the people? The security leaders?
Yeah,
Or-
security actually as
So act on little
security
data.
leaders, security teams, and actually just the security end as a whole. If you think about most of the things that we do on the human aspect side as it relates to, for example, security awareness training, and you say, show me the evidence that that is effective, they can't. But we do it anyway. And
Because
some of
they're
it is really
experienced and they know best, or just a general gut
because
instinct?
it's because they know they should do something, and we hope it works.
Yeah.
Hope is not an act of war, never has been.
Yeah.
So the reality is that ultimately the data and the evidence is what really helps us. And when you start to look at the data and the evidence and start to look at applying interventions into spaces or use the data to suggest that this is the right intervention at the right time, you cannot do too much. And actually, even just mapping out the different security behaviors, as I described, SebDB, that in itself is a 7-year piece of work, and it's an open source
How
research.
did you do that? PhD scientist, data scientists, like just
Yeah.
super smart people that you...
And that's where we started. Actually, it's an open source research project now.
Okay.
So it's contributed to by hundreds of security professionals from around the globe who literally can shape and influence what they think the security behavior database should be. So it's on version 4 at the moment. But it did start, as you described, literally with 3 behavioral scientists who were working at CybSafe at the time, that we basically said, we, CybSafe, we need to be really specific about the behaviors that we're focused on rather than this general influence behavior. So therefore, what behaviors, literally number them, name them, and map them out. What is the evidence that suggests that this is the right intervention? Whereas the what data, where would you get that data from? And then, of course, indeed, as we start to collect this data over time, how do we be able to predict behaviors before they even occur? That's the aim, ultimately, to get to be able to predict behaviors before they even occur, so you can influence them in a positive way. We thought naively we could do it in 6 months. 9 months at a push. 7 years later.
7 years.
Hundreds.
And now you have to open source it to get more calibration and contribution.
Literally.
Are they mostly universities that are contributing to that because they love the research element? Or?
Not mostly, but there are a lot of academics who have contributed to it, which is amazing. We love that. But actually, like I said, no, literally CISOs, heads of security awareness, heads of threat intelligence, people, anybody who wants to can literally go onto the security behavior database, access everything, download everything, slag it all off, absolutely share their views about what should change and what should be improved or what's not working, and it just iterates over time.
Is it I'm a CISO, I have an idea, I think this is a behavior that's linked to that activity, for example, or threat vector. I just put a comment in there, or I can't change it, right? I just suggest.
You can put a comment in there, and it might get picked up on the next iteration. We might reach out to you and say, can you please give us more information on that? Most of the things that are in there are peer tested. So they're you know, as you can imagine, not everybody agrees on everything. Is the truth. So ultimately, it's at a point now where it's very stable. We also see a lot of organizations, including some of our competitors, which we absolutely love, who've downloaded it and use it and iterate on it themselves, which is amazing.
Okay, so there's their own kind of version that they can keep building on. So let's take us back to like the first iteration of CybSafe's platform. What did it look like? Give us a visual. What did it look like? How bad was it? How good was it? Like how different? How different? No. So
John,
how different? Yeah. Obviously, Jonathan.
I was going to say Jonathan, our CTO, is here. He probably.
How different is it to today?
It is very different. It is very different. When we got going, when we first started, because of course one of the biggest challenges within software, as you know, is being clear about what problem you're trying to solve.
Of course.
And recognizing as well that version 1 is version 1. It's really about iterating quickly. I think I once heard somebody say that if you don't cringe when you build, and if you don't cringe at what you build, then you've probably taken too long and invested too much.
Let me just show you after this. Sean and my team sent me and Charlie a presentation this morning and said, look at this. It was like the first SKO what we did in like 2021.
Okay.
It's like on Windows 95. It was done on Paint. We had no marketer. And then because we're doing this SKO for January and talk about cringe, I was like, wow.
And it's important to see it, because even though actually we might look back now and say, gosh, that wasn't as great as it could have been. The reality is what really matters is what everybody else says. And I do really believe that ultimately get it out well. We've got enterprise customers. We've banks, insurance companies, large global organizations. So it needs to be stable. It needs to be secure. It needs to work. But ultimately, we need their feedback. That's how it's really going to improve. And so the first version of the CybSafe platform. Also, the other issue for us was that when it comes to where organizations think about this problem or where their budgets are, where the teams are set up, their real concern was security awareness training and how they make that better, and phishing simulations and how they do that more effectively. So so that's where we started, right?
Well, it's
You're
what the
training
market wanted, right? You have to go where.
you're training your people, but it's not making the difference. Let us literally map it to security behaviors and show you how you can effectively go beyond training. You're doing phishing simulations. You want to increase the number of people who are reporting, but you're guessing about nudges. Let us help you apply a much more scientific lens so you can deliver random group assignments, which are like randomized control trials or A/B testing. So you can see that this nudge is 23% more effective than that nudge. We literally built it into the platform, and that's literally how we just make it really simple for organizations to take a more scientific approach to addressing the human aspect of cybersecurity.
So last couple of questions on the actual product, because I'm very interested. Like, how does it actually, like physically, how does it work? So you don't sit in the browser. You mentioned everyone's kind of like, they got the E3, 5 licenses on Microsoft. Like, do you deploy an agent? Does it sit on my personal endpoint to watch what Josh does for a period of time to learn? And
yeah, so we integrate into these various applications, everything from CrowdStrike, like I said, Microsoft, the full range of Microsoft suites, Google Workspace houses, and we will use the data that we can see from there in order to basically help build up that picture about Josh and what help he needs, or indeed where he might be exhibiting good behaviors as well as behaviors that ultimately need to be affected. Josh will have access to the CybSafe app, if indeed your organization decides to do that. We'll integrate maybe into Teams so that you can deliver your nudges or your prompts into Teams, into email, into the app, your mobile app. And if you do decide to use the CybSafe platform for your security awareness training or indeed your phishing simulations, then of course you'll deliver that too.
And then, so how do you navigate the element of, I now feel like I'm being snooped on or going to get in trouble, right? Because that's a big problem.
Yeah, it's a really good
user
point.
problem.
It's a really good point.
And then adoption and stuff. Yeah.
In most cases, if you think about it, most people in their organizations, they are very comfortable with the idea that they get notifications, reminders, prompts, emails, Teams messages, Slack messages from other colleagues as well as from the organization itself. So in that sense, we don't see organizations or users concerned about being snooped on from that perspective, because this is literally exactly the same data that is being used to send them notifications or prompts or reminders about other things. The only difference is we're sending them stuff that can literally help them. The other thing is we make it really easy for organizations to help people in their personal lives as well as in their professional lives. Hence one of the reasons the mobile app is so helpful. If you want to literally forward this on to members of your family or friends, they can literally do that. So that's extremely simple for them to do.
That's a real cool community thing as well.
Really useful, really powerful. Actually, we also can see that people are more likely to remember information. There's literally quite a lot of data.
And if you teach, you learn, will you remember, etc.
If you share, actually, even
really
rather than just
sharing.
teach. Yeah. So there's quite a lot of correlation on that front. That said, we are extremely aware that every single organization can misuse technology. There are organizations who literally misuse phishing emails, simulated phishing, tricking people into doing the wrong thing so they can, in essence, teach them. But in reality, they're gotchas. And let's be clear, in security, the thing you want the least are people hiding things. Every single human being is going to make a mistake.
And also, I'll see that security guy at the Christmas party, and he's a douchebag, right?
Most people in most organizations don't think they work in security. Some of them don't even know who the people are in the security team as well. And indeed, in some cases, unfortunately, the security team might have a reputation of being douchebags. But good security teams want to get over that. They want to be seen as the part of the organization that is not just completely tied to the priorities for the organization, but we're here to help. And indeed, we understand technology and the estate well enough to be able to help you achieve your objectives in the most or least risky way possible. So the CybSafe platform helps them do that. But the reality is, of course, good security teams are doing that anyway, and this is just an extension of the way they do that. We get asked all the time, how is this not going to encourage people to feel like they're being watched? But actually, we don't see that. People don't feel like they're being watched. In fact, the opposite. My phone sends me a little nudge if I've been sat down for too long.
Yeah, my Ring does the same.
Technology and data being used to help you is not a concern for most people. They not only are we comfortable with it, we expect it. You're actually frustrated if you don't get support and assistance. You've put your wedding ring back on.
No, it's my cut. I get that intrusive point, and you're right about just a wider help. Like people wear whoop straps, and like this thing will tell me, "Hey, stand up, lazy, get up." Why is it any different to, "Hey, next time don't click that because of this," or
Did you mean to send that? Are you aware that there's a better way for you to? Is a
Yeah.
better LLM that we'd rather use? This
Interesting.
information or Microsoft Purview will help determine all sorts of things, including people, of course, sharing sensitive data in the wrong place. You can help people rather than punish them. You can quite literally guide people rather than teach them. We often have this obsession that says, "I've got to teach you stuff. I've got to teach you
Feels
stuff."
powerful, right?
Well, no, I don't know if that's what it is. Actually, I mean, maybe it does. It's like there's some
Should
stuff
see some of
coming-
my teachers at
some
school.
stuff coming up, Josh.
Yeah, a lot of dark past.
I don't know it is about power. I think it's because people generally think that it's helpful. We make too many assumptions.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
In the urinals in Europe, you might notice that when you go in as a bloke, there'll be some people who are not blokes listening to this, I know, but if you are a bloke, you will know that when you go into some urinals, there's a fly on the urinal. You may have seen it before.
Yeah.
That fly on the urinal has reduced the amount of urine on the walls in those urinals by 37%.
Do you use this in your sales pitches?
You know what? I try to keep we out of the sales pitches. No one is teaching anybody anything.
Just a guide.
It's literally a nudge that is encouraging people to aim in the right place. If we take a step back and think about what we're trying to do, we will realize that actually quite a lot of what we do is ineffective and we're wasting time and effort. We don't need to do that. And time and effort, of course, in an organization is money.
Yeah.
Ultimately, if I could give you time back by reducing the amount of training your team do, but ultimately reduce the risk at the same time, that's a good thing.
Yeah, and on that point, talk about like the value. How fast can you provide that value? Like how fast can you demonstrate? Can you go, hey, and like how do you also track that I'm becoming more security aware and
time to value, proof of value. These are really
better.
Important. Yeah. So hence one of the reasons why we're so obsessed about being specific about security behaviors. The question we really want to ask the customers that we work with is, which are the security behaviors that you matter to you the most, and where are you today on those things? In some cases they'll know, in some cases they won't, and if they don't, we can help them measure that through the data that I told you that we collect through the telemetry at the beginning. And then we can say, right, you want to improve that behavior by X% or Y%, and we'll show you that improvement. When it comes to value, there's changing behavior, there's increasing engagement, there's increasing the capacity. So we've got customers who they basically are able to not just influence the security behavior of their people, but do so in a fraction of the time, 25% of the time it would have taken them before. Okay. So literally, how many hours do you spend? How much is this automation literally saving you? So those are the ways in which we show customers value: behavior change, engagement, capacity, and all of those things matter to most of our organizations.
Makes total sense. Let's pivot. Leadership. Tell us about kind of Oz as the leader, maybe how you, an officer in the paratroopers, much as I hate to say it, or paras. I don't know why I said that. Paratroopers.
French.
The Legion. Like, have you changed? Have you evolved? Like, how do you what has changed? I guess it's totally different now in the civilian world, but like
it is different. I mean, well, leadership is not different. The context is different, but leadership is not different. You know, the job of a leader, people describe it in different ways, but I believe it's to create the conditions for other people to succeed. Whether you're in the Corps, whether you're in the Parachute Regiment, whether you're in other bits of defence, whether you're working in a bank, or whether you're growing a software business. Ultimately, if you lead, your job is to create the conditions for those people that you lead to succeed.
Agreed.
How has that changed for me? Well, the environment clearly has changed. You know, the consequences for getting stuff wrong is very different here. That said, in many ways, the intensity is the highs maybe are less intense, but
more
constant.
Yeah,
it's more constant.
Not the 95% waiting, 5% war.
That's exactly right. Yeah. And of course, also the context for each individual we're working with. You know, we aren't spending lots of time training super intently and then going away and doing really complicated things and then training, preparing for them super intently. We're doing really complicated things much of the time, and we're bringing people in, some people who've never even been in the workplace before, some people who are academics and therefore they don't really understand the commercial space, but they're growing about it. Some people who are software engineers who are the brightest people on the planet, but maybe not necessarily great at communicating some of that stuff. You know, just a real range of people, and we love that. That diversity and that range is really important to what we're building. And of course, that in itself brings a different leadership challenge. So I think, like all leaders, I think we are all constantly developing and changing.
Yep.
I'm probably constantly developing and changing, messing up a little bit less every day, hopefully, but the truth is I get stuff wrong.
You'll be reminded if you are. I'm sure Anik will be straight in for it. And then, like, just on that last bit about the leadership piece. So, and this is quite a common theme when you see people leave the military services, blue light, whatever, is like you go from a place where everyone's trained to a certain degree, they're dependable, the same level, intentions that remain the same, etc. Did you find that a difficult transition when you then go into the civilian world, knowing full well that, or like, I spoke to someone recently who gets frustrated because I'm like, why didn't you know that? And it's like, well, dude, you didn't train them and coach them. And by the way, in the civilian world, we don't train every day. Like, you expect people to like not have no practice and then go straight on the field and be really good. And then to make the mistakes out there and at the RSAs and stuff of the world. Like, did you find that, like, did that ever come up?
Do you know what? Not quite as you described it for me, but I think for a few reasons. One, I spent a lot of time out of uniform. That's the reality of it. I also spent a lot of time working with interagency, working alongside civilians. I did staff jobs.
Totally different types of...
So just lots and lots of different environments and lots of different commands. So you're absolutely right. We're very lucky. You know,
take for granted, I think, a lot of it, yeah.
It's not suitable for everything. It's for a very specific thing in a very specific place. CybSafe, we're really lucky. We've got some incredible people who are very, very good at what they do. And they think about stuff differently, and we need them to think about stuff differently. So no, I've not seen that as a negative. I've seen it actually as a positive, but also as it's just a reality of this different challenge. So it's a very different challenge.
Yeah, and I think you had a smoother transition because in between like the paras and being a civilian, you had that the more civilian clothing type role.
Yeah, I mean,
so definitely,
so definitely spend a lot of time in other places.
As CEO now, what takes up most of your time? What fills your days?
Yes, good question actually, because I'm constantly trying to look at what's taking up my time and work out how to.
Are you really efficient with your time? And
I don't think so. If my wife was here, she'd say definitely not.
Yeah. Do you always say like, I'm going to do less late nights? I'm going to delegate more, because I do this all the time, by the way. And then in the end, something else fills up my time.
I like what I do.
Yeah.
And I'm committed to it, and I'm not very good at kind of. I think if people were here that maybe I worked with, they'd point out that I can be a bit intense sometimes. And I don't. I know that about myself. It's a strength as well as a probably a bit annoying for some people. But the truth is that what takes up my time now, I spend a lot of time with the team. I think my job is to unblock stuff that only I can unblock, or do stuff that nobody else is stupid enough or indeed has the time to do yet, if that makes any sense. You kind of, you know this as you're going your own business. You do things until you hire yourself out of a job. You understand it well enough to bring somebody else in to do it. And I've made so many mistakes, Josh. I genuinely, there'll be people who watch this who are like, Luke, he fucked that up and he fucked that up.
Yeah, went to your memoirs.
Exactly. Delete that chapter. But the truth is that that's how we learn sometimes. And the thing we're backing ourselves to do is to learn quickly, and to as an organization, but also as an individual. So a lot of my time is spent with the team, trying to understand where I can help or add value, or indeed unblock the things that I can unblock. I spend a huge amount of time with customers.
Of course, yeah.
And prospects on the GTM side, helping people understand the problem that we're solving, why we're solving it, why we might be right for them, but also, of course, understanding their world, so I can bring that into the organization and indeed make sure that we're iterating quickly. Hiring, of course, I spend a lot of time. Everybody who joins CybSafe, I want to spend time too, so I do spend a lot of time talking to people.
How big are you guys now, headcount?
And so in terms of headcount at the moment in the organization, there's 50 of the people in the organization. But even if we're not filling roles right now,
we're
always talking to people, because as you know, there's just
we learned that lesson,
and so it's just really important to be doing. But we have got a couple of things that we're trying to hire for in the new year, so we're just trying to kind of understand that and genuinely understand that. Like I said, I've definitely learned some things. I believe that all mishires are the fault of the person who did the hiring.
Yeah, agreed.
So if you can kind of learn from that, then you reduce the
and like, look, we're dealing with humans, right? So we're going to make mistakes, but like, are you quite a transparent leader in the sense of, hey, I fucked up, made this mistake, this is why I made the mistake, this is how we're going to fix it, and just be...
I try to be, I can't think of any reason why not to be, and I can't think of any reason why I can't. I suspect even sometimes, the diagnosis of where we've made a mistake, we haven't got 100% right. But I absolutely, I believe in organizational learning, and I don't believe you can do that in silos, and you can do that so do as much of it publicly. Normalize making mistakes and learning and improving quickly. Don't keep making the same mistakes. That we can't.
Particularly in what you also sell as a company. That's exactly what you ask of the employees who are using the product.
That's exactly right.
It's normal to make mistakes. We're human.
And I don't believe that any high performance team does anything impressive without getting stuff wrong.
Look at Arsenal. We haven't won the league for 15 years. So
if we were having this conversation, if we'd filmed this a few weeks ago, we could have been sat here rubbing our hands.
I might release this in May.
Scared.
Right, let's go. Lightning round. Quick 5 questions. Books or podcasts?
Books generally, but I don't mind the odd podcasts too.
Audiobooks or
audiobooks? And audiobooks, if it's something that I think might be good, but I'm not 100% sure. If I know it's going to be good, I need to read it because I take it in better.
Or you're on holiday, maybe not reading it down the slopes. Any particular book recently? Anything comes to mind?
So I've
Put you on the
just
spot.
reread 2 books that I actually like so much that I've literally gone over them again. One is The Alchemist,
Yeah.
Paulo Coelho.
Yeah.
Amazing book for anybody who's interested in just understanding yourself and why people do what they do. The Hard Thing About Hard Things, which is Ben Horowitz, which is a fantastic, fantastic book.
Good off.
founder.
I'm reading 2 at the moment. One is The Secret Life of a Golf Caddy.
Yeah.
On the European tour.
Yeah.
Unreal. I'm still trying to work out who he is, but that's very good. And then that's like your chilled nighttime reading.
Yeah.
And then I'm reading the What's the Difference Between God and Larry Ellison, the Oracle guy.
Okay.
But it's done in the 90s when he was like a bit like John McAfee, right? Where he was a bit of a lunatic, loose, enjoyed the wildlife.
Yeah.
And then the book, basically, the end of the book says the difference between God and Larry Ellison is that God doesn't, whatever. It's something like God doesn't think he's Larry Ellison or something like that. It's the other way around, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cold plunge or sauna?
Probably a sauna, if I'm honest. Hard nipples just aren't my thing.
Fair enough. That's going to be a clip. I know the answer to this one. Skiing or snowboarding?
That's what I meant.
Have you ever skied? Was it
I have-
initially
no,
a
I
ski?
started-
I
I started on
want to
ski.
be a dude, and then I want to like cut people up and piss people off, and be that guy.
So I was a muggle, a lesser mortal. I skied first, and then I migrated.
So someone told me, I'm nowhere near as advanced as you. Someone told me that skiing's really easy to learn, hard to master, whereas snowboarding's hard to learn but easier to master.
You know what? I'm not. As much as I joke, I'm not a snow snob in that I actually think they're both amazing sports. I wish I was as good at skiing as okay at snowboarding. I wish I was as good at skiing. I'm not. And I think they're both hard to master. You can be up and going faster on a snowboard. You can get going. You can be, but it's more painful. So if you don't mind 2 or 3 days of falling over a lot, you can be up and running and getting down things faster, but it's more uncomfortable for 2 or 3 days. Equally on skis, you can have a much less aggressive and violent time on the slope. But it will just take longer.
And it's also more dangerous skiing, surely, because you have 2 things going the opposite
way.
way.
Definitely. There's more to think about.
There's more knees getting popped.
You've got all those really dodgy short clothes that you wear and horrible.
And you've just been followed douche, and you've you're a few beers down. Mac or Windows?
I'm a Mac. And in fact, as a whole company, we're not massive fans of Windows at all.
Interesting. Let's talk about that later. Charlie uses Mac. I use Windows, and he's the only one using Mac. And it's like a running joke, because all the files get destroyed. Tell us about your coffee order. And where? Like,
so it's funny. I am I'm surrounded by, whether it's my wife, whether it's the engineers, Jonathan, CTO, people who love and appreciate coffee. I genuinely don't care. It all tastes the same to me. I don't understand what everyone's talking about. I think everyone's making it up.
Really?
When everyone says this is an amazing coffee, this is not. I'm like, you're lying.
And by the way, how many military coffee companies are there? By the way? There's like Black Rifle. There's loads, right? 50 gallon.
Amazing.
Really not,
it's good. And they're all doing well, actually.
Really
nice. Do you know what? I like coffee, but I genuinely don't get excited by it in the way that people do.
It's disappointing. And just to finish on this
very
bit,
easily pleased.
Yeah, I can imagine you're like, I'll just take like a black coffee, or like it doesn't get how strong.
Doesn't make a difference.
Yeah. Okay. And tell us lastly, what's one thing you'd tell your 21-year-old self? Just graduated uni, join the Marines, don't join the Paras.
I was going to say, keep away from all the Royal Marines you ever meet.
Don't go Colchester or the snaggy Paras.
Wonderful place.
There's a reason why they have the military prison in Colchester,
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
The glass house, I know it well. What would I tell my 21-year-old self? I would probably, just enjoy what you do. And the reality is that as a leader, and I think everyone's a leader of something. This is the other thing I think is really important. And it's important for us to realize that. Some people lead teams, some people lead organizations, some people lead their friendship groups, some people just lead initiatives, projects. Everybody leads something.
Yeah.
And so leaders create leaders. And I would kind of lean into that more. I would tell my 21-year-old self, you're back at 21, you're about to embark on a journey which is going to basically see you surrounded by leaders. Some of them are really good, some of them are less good. Learn as much as you can from them.
Nice. Okay, cool. Just to close out then, so tell us what's next for CybSafe 2026. You're planning now. It's that time of year.
We are planning now. We're excited about next year. It's been a great year. So the last 18 months we've been expanding into the US. I split my time between London and the US, which is quite
bases. Well, Boston,
primarily Boston, but the truth is, of course, we've got customers all over the country now, and that's great. So I'll be out there a lot, and indeed we'll have members of the team out there as well. But ultimately, we want to continue to double down on some of the growth that we're seeing in certain pockets, certain industries. We are very excited about the next stage of the product evolution. So for us, we've been applying AI into the product for quite some time, but in particular, we are releasing CybSafe Signal, which is effectively us turning our LLM external, so that something that we use internally and have used internally
You
to
have an
ask
in-house
questions
built
for a
LLM?
while, that we're basically making it allowing customers to be able to answer questions about the data and indeed
So
how
you're
they
going to
optimize
put that into the product?
Yeah. So
Wow,
that's really
okay.
exciting. Really exciting.
Like a
for us.
natural language search bar? Like just a...
Yeah, and the ability for people to then ask questions about the data, reports, optimize this nudge for me, what should I do here? Lots of our space are applying artificial intelligence to the experience for the user, which is really important.
Yep.
But there's actually the ability to apply it to the experience for the security team and the administrator. That's where we're really focused right now.
Nice. Okay. Exciting times. Can we leave I'd love for you to leave the listeners with one security tip or something we have to do this week. Give me an action point.
So on the assumption that most of your listeners are actually in security teams,
Yep.
they are people who are ultimately either running programs or leading programs, then I would say think about the human aspect and be clear, what is it that you're doing that's actually working? Not the activity, running events, getting people to listen to stuff, getting people to watch things, even getting people to click on things so that helps you understand whether they're engaging. But is it actually changing any behavior? If it's not, does that matter? Does it not matter?
Yeah.
If it doesn't matter, if no behavior is changing and you don't care, then actually maybe you can reduce how much you do, because that's actually just give time back. Whereas if you're doing lots of stuff and no behavior is changing, maybe you need to tweak some things. So just really focus on the behaviors when it comes to the human aspect.
I love it. Where can we find you if someone's interested in having a conversation?
If they're interested in having a conversation, we are always about our propagandas all over LinkedIn. www.cybersafe.com. That's the most easy way to find us at our website. Just literally reach out. I am on LinkedIn and indeed love speaking at events and getting in contact with people. We publish a lot of research. We speak at a lot of things, so people will find us quite easily.
Amazing. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks,
I genuinely love what you do. I know we've worked together for a long time, but excited for 2026.
Likewise. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, man.